So this is my 2023 Tesla Model 3 Performance, and I had to leave it into Tesla recently to get some warranty work done, and they gave me this, which was a 2019 Model 3 Performance. So I thought it would be interesting to compare the panel gaps on the earlier first generation cars and this, which is the second generation facelifted car. So let's take a look at it. I'll also have a video coming up comparing the two, so if you're interested in that, be sure to subscribe. So I've already made a video about the panel gaps on this car, but just to go over them again for comparison's sake, around the front here, it's very slightly larger on one side than it is on the other here where the bumper meets the bonnet. Here, this is the 2019 Model 3. And first of all, the panel gaps are pretty good, but they're a little bit more out on this one. You can definitely see the gap here between the bonnet and the bumper is a lot bigger. Compare that to this, which is the 23 model. Everything's a lot tighter, albeit still not perfect. On the 23 car, the panel gaps between the wings and the bonnet are pretty perfect. And to be honest, they're pretty perfect on this one too. I don't see any inconsistencies on either. It's just this front one. Again, where the wing and the bumper meet is both pretty perfect on the 2019 car. Comparing them to the 2023 car, again, they're pretty good. They're a lot tighter on the 23 car, so they've definitely upped their quality control since the first generation cars, no doubt. So moving down the side of my car here, I noticed a few things. The panel gaps they're pretty good. They're a little bit bigger than you'd expect on a German car. And here on the 2019 car, they're pretty much the same. I know it's hard to see because of the difference in lighting, but they're actually pretty much the same. There's no real differences in those side, in either the front or rear door. The gap between that rear quarter and that rear door is pretty consistent too. Again, here in the 2023 car, they're all pretty good. And to be honest with you, there's not much in it. In my last video, I pointed out this gap here, but again, I think it's really just the lighting and nothing really to worry about on that one. Moving on to the rear door here, again, it's even tighter than the 19 car, but not by much. Here is where the original Model 3 really suffered, but on this one it's actually not too bad. You can see here that there's a bigger gap and a smaller gap just as they meet, but again, it's not really too bad. Again, this shunt line here between where the rear bumper meets the quarter is pretty good, but you can still see a little bit of discrepancy in it. In the 23 car, the gaps are a little bit more consistent. They're a little bit tighter, albeit still not perfect, as I pointed out in the last video. So moving over to the driver's side of the car, this was my biggest complaint in terms of panel gaps on the 2023 car. It's this door, rear door between this rear quarter. It's bigger on this side than it is on the other side. Not by much, but it's noticeable. On the 2019 car, it's probably a little bit tighter, but it's pretty much the same. Again, this driver's door is actually pretty good, no complaints there. And on the 2023 car, it's pretty much the same. It's maybe a little bit tighter, but there's not much in it. And then moving to where the driver's door meets the front wing is pretty good on the 23 car. And on the 2019 car, it's also pretty good. It's a little bit tighter there, you can see in the middle, but nothing to really worry about. So moving around the back of the 2019 car, you can actually see this spoiler's just lifting very slightly in the corner. This was a really common problem with the original Model 3 Performance. The rear carbon fiber spoiler started to lift on each side, and you can actually see the lacquer starting to peel on that one side of it. Whereas on the 2023 car, it's pretty much solid, and all the panel gaps at the rear of the car are pretty much spot on, no issues. So where the boot meets the car on the 2019 car, you can see a bigger gap on the right hand side and a thinner one at the bottom. Whereas on the 23 car, they're both bigger, but they're more consistent, which makes it look a bit better. So what's the verdict here? Well, to be honest, there's not really much difference. Some panel gaps are better and some are worse. The 2023 is definitely overall better than the 2019. But the 2019 is still not bad, so my advice would be, if you are thinking about buying an earlier generation Model 3, just make sure you pay a little bit more attention to the finer details.